Patience is one of the noble moral qualities that people should practice in life. It is the ability to control yourself, give up attractive things, and control your emotions to comply with rules and ethics. Patience is a difficult action, but it brings many good and healthy benefits to both yourself and the surrounding community. Help people live according to reason and morality. One abstinence is 9 good things. This statement shows the awareness that patience brings good benefits. When people are patient with negative attitudes, they become more pure in spirit, more moral, and live in harmony with everyone around them. Patience can manifest itself in many aspects of daily life. One of the typical examples is patience in consuming food and drinks. Refraining from eating is not only beneficial for health, but also helps balance the body, mind, and emotions. In addition, patience also requires people to exercise restraint in using technology, avoiding content that can harm the soul and thinking. However, patience also includes patiently waiting in work and life. The time and effort spent practicing patience will help people develop alertness and consistency in lifestyle. The ability to be patient helps improve mental health and reduce stress. When we know how to control negative emotions such as anger and anxiety, we become calmer and more serene. Patience also helps increase the ability to focus on work and study, thereby improving work and study performance. Patience is also closely related to controlling our emotions and attitudes. When we know how to control anger, greed, or selfishness, we become more benevolent and empathetic to the people around us. Patience helps us build good relationships and improve our own spirit. In the modern world, where the pace of life is accelerating and social pressure is increasing, patience becomes extremely important to maintain balance in life. Only by practicing patience can people live a true and truly happy life. Patience helps us become benevolent and respectful of others. When we don't argue, criticize, envy, or consider other people's mistakes, we build good relationships and build trust and consensus in the community. Patience also plays an important role in maintaining patience and waiting in difficult and conflict situations. Patience is a journey of personal development with perseverance and control. When we practice patience, we learn to face difficulties, become patient, and have the ability to solve problems consciously. This helps us grow and develop strongly in life. Patience is one of the noble moral qualities that helps people live according to reason and morality. By suppressing bad desires and behavior, we become more virtuous and pure. Patience also demonstrates a spirit of steadfastness in the values and principles we believe in. The practice of patience not only benefits oneself, but also contributes to building a better, peaceful society and sustainable common love. Patience and failure are 2 opposing concepts. Patience is the ability to control yourself, give up attractive things, and control your emotions to comply with rules and ethics. Patience is not about refusing life or avoiding difficulties, but about being patient and merciful in facing them calmly. Patience helps us overcome challenges soberly and with clear goals. Suffering failure is a situation where the intended result is not achieved or the goal or mission is unsuccessful. Suffering failure can hurt self-esteem, causing feelings of frustration, distrust of self, and uncertainty about the future. Suffering failure is not a moral act, but it is a natural part of life that will happen to each person. The difference between patience and failure lies in the way we face difficult situations and our ability to control our emotions. Patience encourages us to persevere, control ourselves, and focus on our mission goals despite failures. Meanwhile, suffering failure often comes with giving up, no longer having the patience to face difficulties. Although suffering failure can be a natural part of life, a spirit of patience helps us overcome failures, Learn from them to continue to face life positively and constructively. Patience is a positive and beneficial quality in personal development, while suffering failure is not a desired goal that we need to overcome to achieve success. Helplessness and patience are two completely different concepts. Patience is a positive and self-chosen quality of people. It includes the will and determination to overcome difficulties and challenges in life. In contrast, impotence is a loss of strength or inability to solve a problem, challenge, or difficult situation. Helplessness comes from the feeling of not being able to do anything to change or influence the current situation, leading to despair, a feeling of no solution. Impotence is a negative mood that can cause stress and anxiety. While patience shows will and patience in overcoming difficulties, following rules, helplessness is a negative mood with no determination to change or overcome difficult situations to move forward. Success and happiness in life. Patience is not accepting disadvantages. Patience and accepting disadvantage are two completely different concepts. Patience is the ability to control yourself, give up attractions, and control your emotions to follow rules, morals, or achieve larger goals. It is a positive quality and self-choice of the human being that helps us overcome difficulties, face challenges, and strive to achieve something significant in life. Accepting disadvantage means accepting or voluntarily enduring injuries, harms, or injustices that cannot change or affect them. This is a negative mood, not a choice, but often appears when we cannot do anything to change the situation or when we encounter unfavorable situations that we cannot control. Patience is the ability to control oneself and resolve to overcome difficulties, while accepting disadvantage is an acceptance that cannot change or influence the current situation. It is important to learn to be patient when necessary, and at the same time know how to discriminate to change situations that can be changed to find ways to cope positively. One thing to abstain is 9 good things is a maxim originating from Buddhist philosophy and has deep meaning in morality and the right way of life, expressing the spirit of morality and practice in Buddhism. That maxim emphasizes the meaning of patience and purity in behavior. It encourages us to live properly, treat morally, and create a peaceful and happy environment in life. When we have the ability to restrain and be patient from negative behaviors such as drinking, arguing, jealousy, greed, considering other people's mistakes, resentment, criticism, and self-righteousness greater than others. Observing good things in life will help us live in harmony and achieve happiness. By being patient and keeping our souls pure, we create a positive environment to experience joy and peace in our hearts. One thing to endure is 9 good things becomes a meaningful philosophy of life and worth pursuing. The practice of patience not only benefits oneself, but also contributes to building a better, peaceful society and sustainable common love. Life is beautiful. Why are we angry sometimes? People today are often angry, have very poor ability to control their emotions, and it's easy to get caught up in small things because it is difficult for people to control. It leads to it being difficult for the entire society to find peace. Living in such a stressful social environment, people's sense of happiness is also becoming less and less. To take a small example, nowadays on the streets people and vehicles are busy, but because human morality cannot keep up with the growth rate of traffic, it leads to many people suffering from the syndrome, street irritability. Walking on the road, if we pay attention and observe, we will discover the phenomenon. The driver of a road car does not look at the road, but is just busy playing on the phone. Pedestrians scold the driver for not walking carefully. Not knowing how to give way to others, the driver also curses at each other. Someone stops in the middle of the road. Someone runs slowly. Someone overtakes the car. In short, we cannot feel the peaceful atmosphere on the road. Human anger can easily cause struggle. There is a proverb that says, Take a step back from the wide sea to the high sky, ring for a moment when the waves are calm and the wind is calm. Only with patience is peace, but people today are mostly narrow-minded, unable to be patient, unable to yield. Husband and wife quarrel just because of a small matter, and then create hatred for each other, and the marriage ends up breaking up. In work, just for a small profit, fighting to the point where the living and the dead become battlefields, people interact with each other in just one inappropriate sentence and conflicts begin to occur. In fact, people are just protecting their own name, feeling unjust, feeling embarrassed, feeling unbearably humiliated, having to say it out loud. To satisfy this anger, there must be winners and losers. Speak out to satisfy that tone. In ancient Greek mythology, the story of the Trojan War is told. The reason is only because two men compete for a beautiful woman named Helen, who did not win the angry beauty that started the war. War. It is the human mentality of fighting over and over that causes this tragedy. Some people think that patience is an expression of weakness, so we have to fight up. In fact, fighting is not overcoming ourselves. The person who can be patient is not a weak person, but an expression of strong will and noble qualities. People with noble qualities do not perceive like normal people. They can control their own negative emotions with strong will. I know such a person. She can really be patient in all situations. When she encounters unsatisfactory things, she is always happy and thoughtful. She can face conflicts in life with an optimistic mindset, eventually resolving conflicts for the better. One time, her son-in-law and daughter argued. The son-in-law showed a very aggressive and unbridled attitude. Normal people would have to make sense of their son-in-law and defend their daughter, but she looked at the problem objectively, finding the cause of the controversy without favoring either side, while comforting her daughter and educating her son-in-law. She pointed out her daughter's shortcomings in good faith, and her daughter finally realized her problem and made peace with her husband. Her family avoided it. An unnecessary divorce. Her son went to work far away and was scammed out of money and asked for help everywhere, but as a result, she didn't have anyone to help her. She advised her son to suffer as a blessing and gave him some money to start over. Her husband has a hot temper and is always harsh towards her. She does not keep it in mind, always tells everyone that his husband is a good person, only evil, but honest in nature. Some people may think that such a patient person is too stupid. But from another perspective, everyone has to face troubles in life. Anger and struggle only make themselves more miserable and cannot change anything. People with generous hearts cannot calculate loss. Gain or loss can skillfully escape conflicts and encounter evil and good. The ancients conveyed this principle through the proverb, "The prime minister's belly can sail." If people do not have great patience, is 9 out of 10. If the heart is generous, they cannot be prime ministers, cannot do big things. That's the morality. But most people are controlled by emotions. It's not easy to suppress anger, but only those who cultivate faith, and right view can do it. Later, I learned that the woman mentioned above is a person who cultivates the principles of truth, compassion, forbearance, truth, kindness, and patience. She is indeed more generous than normal people. It seems the power of faith is enormous. Patience is a very precious human virtue. It is not cowardice or weakness, but it is an expression of a resilient will to think first and later. Being able to endure is a kind of great blessing. Of life, previously, there was a poor scholar who lived by writing letters and books to people. One time near the New Year, because he was outside writing a couplet for someone who earned a little money, the scholar immediately bought a rooster and told the seller to bring it to his wife's house. The scholar's wife, while heating water to make chicken feathers, a neighbor's servant quickly ran over and shouted, "This wife is really fast, just blinked, a little slower and you've already cleaned her hair. Then the other person quickly lifted the chicken and took it away. The wife didn't say a word right now. At night, the husband returned home and asked the wife, "Why don't you make chicken?" The wife replied, "Everyone blames me for being so stupid. The chicken hasn't killed it yet, so it can fly away. I'm really sorry." The husband said, "It's also because I'm not talented. If I had money to buy a little pork, this wouldn't be the case." On the morning of the first day of Tet, early on, the neighbor came to wish the poor scholar a new year. He told the scholar, "The great man is like you. He will definitely have a good future in the future. This year, the capital has a big competition. Please hurry up and apply." The baccalaureate's face turned red, and he replied, "I'm not afraid that you'll see it and laugh at me. It's still difficult for me to eat and eat, let alone enter the distant capital," neighbor says. "I know that situation, but I'm willing to lend it to you. First, there is no need to periodically return it. Second, don't take profit. I just feel that in the future, you'll definitely be able to develop wealth and fortune." After he finished speaking, he immediately said hello and left. The neighbor returned home. The baccalaureate was a bit confused and didn't understand what this was about, so the wife smiled and said, "Looks like the neighbor's lost chicken has definitely been found." After listening, the baccalaureate became even more vague. The new wife continued, "Yesterday, the neighbor's family took our chicken and took it away. I'm afraid you'll come back angry, making people's families have a bad Tet, lose Tet, and will also have a bad Tet. So I said the chicken flew away." After hearing this, the baccalaureate clearly understood and admired his merciful and generous wife from the inside. While the couple was talking, the neighbor's other servant brought 200 taels of silver, saying it belonged to the owner, who told him to bring it to the baccalaureate to expose the fee to the capital. The servant also turned to the baccalaureate and admitted his mistake. "I'm really sorry. Yesterday I admitted the wrong chicken from the scholar's family. Last night, my boss went to the hospital and discovered the house's lost rooster, but the scholar and his wife didn't even see it when they got a little quiet. My master can say that he is a generous person. In the future, he will definitely have a future." So from the heart, he admires the scholar. Only then did the baccalaureate completely understand. It turned out to be due to his wife's kindness, and he received 200 taels of silver and quickly entered the capital to compete, and indeed passed the poinsettia after that. Once upon a time, a sage who was the owner of a stage theater troupe roamed the world with his disciples to find predestined people using songs and dances. One day, they went to a town in the central plains of China and decided to stay there for a while. One day, the wife of the sage who owned the singing troupe went to the market to buy a few thin and cheap steel wire frames at a grocery store. She bought more wire frames than she could bring back with both hands. So the shopkeeper and the waiter pretended to help her arrange the wire frames in her hand and in front of her chest, but at the same time stole her wallet. There is a boy in the theater called Luong, and he is about 20 years old and very talented. He came down the street late for some reason and witnessed the teacher's wife. He rushed to help his teacher's wife with those wire frames. When the store waiter saw the boy, who was tired and struggling, he immediately saw another opportunity to steal. When he placed the wire frames in Luong's hands, he simultaneously put his hands in Luong's pockets. However, Luong quickly used one of his hands to hold the waiter's hand and asked him in a low voice if he had stolen the woman's wallet this way. The store waiter was terrified. He didn't know what to do and said to the shop owner, "He already knows. What should we do?" Luong said, "As a businessman, you should do business properly. That woman has both parents and children who need care, and she needs money. Your way of making money is really dirty. If you want money, I can give you my money, but you need to return the wallet to her." The shop owner chuckled. He opened Liang's pocket and found 1,000 wen ancient Chinese currency units in it. He said, "It was you who stole the woman's money, and you should return her money." Then he shouted, "Catch the thief! Catch the thief!" Facing the greedy and humble shop owner, Luong didn't know what to say. Everyone gathered and beat Luong fiercely. The shop owner asked his accomplices to tie Luong up. They forced Luong to drink 3 bottles of alcohol. They then led Liang to the master of the troop, forcing him to kneel and ask for a guard. People mocked and cursed Luong. The people working together in the troop did not know the truth, and they joined in with the teacher's wife and also reprimanded Luong. Luong was silent and knelt for many days. During that time, his teacher passed him many times and did not look at him or say a word. I don't know how many days have passed. Luong is still kneeling outside the door and enduring wind, rain, burning sunlight, and gossip. However, Luong neither complained nor was angry, and he remained silent with everything he heard. Late one night, his teacher came to him, untied him, laughed, and said, "I know everything. I have overcome the challenge." At that moment, Luong was filled with tears and thanked his teacher for his teaching. When I saw that I was like Luong, I couldn't bear it and cried. After many years, we endure a lot to attain the Dharma. What is Master waiting for? Isn't Master waiting for Luong's correction or for him to become a noble person and an eternal God? How many difficult things did Master do to teach Luong? How can we understand the thoughts of high-ranking gods without promoting our thoughts as those of the beings of that level? Today, we are cultivating in this cosmic Dharma. What else can't we walk away with? What will we achieve after eliminating all attachments? It is eternal brilliance and greatness. Let's live wholeheartedly together so that when we have to break up, we don't regret causing trouble to our loved ones. Make each time you get angry, your loved one has to knit a doll. Like the husband in the story, when tears filled his eyes and he apologized to his wife, it was too late. In the past, there was a couple who lived together for many years. In the last days of her life, she had to stay in a nursing home. One day, when he learned that she was about to break up with her husband, he asked her if she had anything to tell him. She replied, "Please take the shoe box I'm putting under the bed. In it, I kept an item that I had been hiding from him for a long time." The husband stubbornly picked up the shoe box. He asked, "There's something in here that I've always seen her carry with her." "Out of respect for each other, I didn't open it to see," she replied. "There is a small doll here and some money I saved." He continued asking, "Why do you have this doll and money?" She replied, "Before I went to my husband's house, my mother told me that when I'm angry with him, I don't say anything, just knit a doll." After listening to her explanation, he opened the box himself and saw a doll. With tears in his eyes, he told her, "It turns out that after decades of living with me, she was only angry with me once." Then he asked again, "As for this money," she said she saved it. "How did you get such a large amount of money?" She replied, "That's how much I sell the dolls I knit when I'm angry at you." After listening, he immediately understood that she was angry with him many times, but thanks to listening to her mother's teachings, she did not ruin the family's happiness. The above story gives us something to learn in everyday life. When we are angry, if there is nothing else to do, we will devote all our energy to taking care of that anger. Doing so is like poisoning ourselves or committing suicide. Therefore, when negative mental actions such as anxiety and sadness are present, we should find other things to do. The story also teaches us that, in cave, it is easy to get static. When the wife is angry with her husband, she uses the work of cave knitting dolls to keep her mind static. We are the same. When our limbs or mind work, our mind is very easy to rest. On the contrary, if we don't do anything, the situation of being useless and then working as a can easily arise, being leisurely because of unwholesome. We can easily do clumsy things, hurt our lives and the lives of those around us. In short, we come to this world, acquaintances and strangers. We all meet a little and then break up every day. Sow good seeds in your mind instead of destroying your life and others with negative actions. Let's live wholeheartedly together so that when we have to break up, we don't regret causing trouble so many times to our loved ones. Make each time you get angry, your loved one has to knit a doll. Like the husband in the story, when tears filled his eyes and he apologized to his wife, it was too late. In a peaceful small village on the outskirts of a bustling European city, there is a woman named Eleanor. The cobblestone streets and small houses covered with ivy create a peaceful setting, but Eleanor's life is not peaceful. She is a single mother, carrying on her shoulders the noble but arduous responsibility of raising her daughter, Lily, after the sudden death of her husband in a tragic accident. Every dawn, Eleanor faces a challenging day, her heart heavy with pain and responsibility. Eleanor works non-stop, trying to balance her time between a part-time job at a nice little bookstore and classes at the local university. Her dream of getting a degree in literature is not only a personal ambition, but also a torch of hope for a better future for Lily. The walls of their humble home were covered with bookshelves, each book a testament to Eleanor's unwavering steadfastness and love of knowledge. Every morning, as the first light of dawn crept through the lace curtains, Eleanor quietly woke up, careful not to wake Lily. She prepares breakfast, leaves a loving note on the kitchen table, and sets off for class. The university, with its quaint stone buildings and lush green lawns, is where Eleanor found her passion and hope. During the day, she studied diligently, took meticulous notes, and participated in all the discussions. In the evening, she worked at the bookstore until late at night. There were days when she had to work overtime to earn extra money, causing dark circles under her eyes and a tired body. Even so, Eleanor never whined or gave up. She always told herself that a college degree was the key to opening a better future for Lily. Lily understands her mother's sacrifice. She always studies hard, not letting her mother worry. One time, Lily saw her mother collapse on the table and fall asleep while trying to complete her homework. The little girl gently covered her mother with a blanket, then quietly picked up her pen and continued to complete the rest of her homework for her. One winter that year, Eleanor became seriously ill. She still tried to go to school and work, but her health deteriorated. One day, while on her way home from the bookstore, Eleanor collapsed. She was admitted to hospital and diagnosed with severe pneumonia. Lily stayed by her mother's side the entire time she was in the hospital, caring for her and encouraging her to overcome her illness. Despite her illness, Eleanor did not give up. She took her books to the hospital and studied on her deathbed. During those difficult days, Eleanor proved her unshakable patience and determination. Finally, after many efforts and sacrifices, Eleanor also graduated with an excellent degree. The day she received her diploma, she stood on stage, her eyes filled with tears, looking down at the stands where Lily was sitting clapping her hands nonstop. Tears of happiness rolled down their cheeks. It is not only a university degree, but also a symbol of patience, perseverance, and boundless love between mother and child. Thanks to her college degree, Eleanor quickly found a good job with a high salary. The lives of mother and child are increasingly improving. Eleanor not only became a mother, but also a teacher, a shining example for her daughter of patience and determination. Lily grew up with pride in her mother and always carries lessons about perseverance, love, and the will to overcome all difficulties. On a quiet afternoon, sunlight shone all over the yard. Father and son sat next to each other in the chair. The son, with a handsome face, was sitting and reading the newspaper. The old father sat quietly next to him. Suddenly, a sparrow flew down to a nearby beach. The father gently asked, "What's that?" Hearing his father's question, the son looked down at the green grass and calmly replied, "It's a sparrow." Then he continued to look down at the newspaper. The father looked at the sparrow, then looked at the grass swaying on the grass, pondered, then asked again, "What's that?" At this time, the son frowned and expressed his annoyed attitude. "Dad, I just told you, it's a sparrow." Then the son continued reading the newspaper he was holding in his hand. The sparrow flew up and then down again, then stopped at that grass not far away. The father looked after it. The father looked at the sparrow, looked curious, leaned over to look, and continued asking, "What's that?" The son folded the newspaper, expressing his displeasure. "A sparrow." "Father, it's a sparrow." The father then pointed at the sparrow with his hand, spelling each sentence word for word. The son looked angry, staring in the direction of the father. The old father did not look at his son, still calmly turned his eyes towards the sparrow, hesitated, and asked, "What's that?" The son could no longer calm down. "What do you want to do after all?" "I've said it many times. It's a sparrow. Don't you understand?" The father didn't say anything more and immediately stood up. The son couldn't understand, so he asked, "Where are you going?" The father waved his hand and signaled his son not to follow, entering the room alone. The sparrow flew away. The afternoon sun was still the same, sweet and warm. The son alone was upset, threw the newspaper away, and sighed alone. A moment later, the father returned, holding a notebook in his hand. He sat down and turned the page, then gave it to his son. He pointed to a passage and said, "Read it." Those were words full of memories. Today, my 3-year-old son and I played in the park. A sparrow landed next to us. My son asked me 21 times, "Dad, what is that?" I answered the boy 21 times, "That's a sparrow." My son asked again. I hugged him and smiled happily. I patiently answered and explained to him. I didn't find it troublesome at all. Alas, the boy is so adorable. After reading it, the boy folded the notebook, feeling extremely embarrassed in his heart, trying to stop the tears from falling. He opened his arms, hugging his old father next to him. As it turned out, the father was not old or confused. It was just that when he saw the sparrow, the father remembered a beautiful memory with his son as a child, so he deliberately asked the same question over and over again. As a child, the son was extremely curious about novelties. Now that he has grown up, he no longer asks his father 1,001 questions about the world around him all day. Now he can only bow his head and read the newspaper, no longer cares, and relies on the father next to him like in childhood. Over the years of our lives, our parents will eventually age, our black hair will gradually turn white, our health will also decline, and there will not be as much strength left to protect our children as when we were children. However, one thing cannot be changed: the love and sacrifice that parents make for their children. No matter how children treat them, parents are always loving, tolerant, and patient. In the past, there was a couple who lived together for many years. In the last days of her life, she had to stay in the hospital. One day, when he learned that she was about to break up with him, he asked her if she had anything to tell him. She replied, "Please take the box of shoes I put under the bed." In it I kept an item that I had long hidden from Mr. The husband stubbornly brought a box of shoes. He asked, "There's something in here that I've always seen her carry with her." "Out of respect for each other, I didn't open it to see," she replied. "There is a small doll here and some money I saved." He continued asking, "Why do you have this doll and money?" She replied, "Before I went to my husband's house, my mother told me that when I'm angry with him, I don't say anything, just take out the wool and knit a doll." After listening to her explanation, he opened the box himself and saw a doll. With tears in his eyes, he told her, "It turns out that after decades of living with me, she was only angry with me once." Then he asked again, "As for this money, she said she saved it. How did you get such a large amount of money?" She replied, "That's how much I sell the dolls I knit when I'm angry at you." After listening, he immediately understood that she was angry with him many times, but thanks to listening to her mother's teachings, she did not ruin the family's happiness. The story teaches us that in cave there are static. When the wife is angry with her husband, she uses the work of cave, knitting dolls, to keep her mind static. Let's live holy. Rings, the ancients preached, Bakhan Kai Buan, Ring Kai Vai Thong. Among the 100 traits, the way ring is the noblest. Ring is a dharma treasure for cultivating oneself and dealing with one's body. Practicing religion ring is not following an immoral, unprincipled way, nor is it an expression of weakness. Only people with virtue and will can tolerate things that others cannot tolerate. Only they can endure things that others cannot tolerate. From ancient times until now, as a king, if you know how to be patient, there will be no harm in the country. If you know how to be patient, you will make a mistake. If you know how to be patient, your taste will increase. If you know how to be patient, your house will be rich and undivided. If husband and wife know how to be patient, their lovemaking will be complete, and their love will not fade away. Friends know that if they are patient, their name will not be damaged. If you know how to be patient, you will never worry about disaster. In a situation where others humiliate you, and can be respectful, humble, and correct yourself without incurring resentment, that is a person with a great patience. The ancients often used such broad will as a principle for dealing with people. There are many historical stories talking about practicing this ring religion. During the Western Han Dynasty, Trong Thich Kai held the important position of Dinui, in modern terms in charge of managing the country's judiciary. One day, when the Mandarin gathered at court, an old hermit named Vuong Sich turned around and said to Trong Thich Kai, "My socks are slipped. Please tie them up for me." Trong Thich Kai immediately knelt down and carefully tied Vuong Sich's socks without showing any frustration. Later, someone asked Vuong Sich, "Why are you humiliating Trong Dinui like that right at court, in front of everyone?" Vuong Sich said, "I'm just old and humble. I don't have any good things to give to Trong Dinui." Trong Dinui knelt down and tied everything for me. I just wanted to increase his reputation. Everyone through this matter respects Trong Thich Kai's generosity and patience. Trong Thich Kai was tolerant and generous, impartial, spoke frankly, and intervened, later becoming a respected god of the Western Han Dynasty, and was kept in history books. This story shows the value of ancient people. What the ancients revered most was often not talent or status, but the virtue of humility. Lai Tin Kong was prime minister during the Song dynasty. One time, an unruly scholar stopped his horse and presented an envelope to dissuade him. The contents of the letter all mentioned things that the scholar considered Lai Tin Kong's mistake. After Lai Tin Kong finished watching, he humbly looked at the scholar and said, "I don't have time right now. Wait until I return. Look more closely." Unexpectedly, the scholar was angry and immediately reprimanded Lai Tin Kong. You sit in a high position. You can't help the country be rich and strong. You can't help the people be peaceful, and you refuse to give in. To talented people, hindering the path of being an official of talented people, don't you feel ashamed? Double quotes. Ly Van Tin Kong respectfully replied, I have asked to retreat many times, but the emperor is always dissatisfied, so I still cannot retreat. From beginning to end, Lai Van Tin Kong had no resentment. Ly Van Tin Kong once said, humiliation is the most unbearable word. From ancient times until now, many heroes have failed here. Tu Jiai was a mandarin of the Ming dynasty. He worked as a school governor at the academy. During an exam, a student used a dictionary that Tu Jiai did not know about. Tu Jiai, when criticizing the article, thought it was a fabrication, so he gave it a very low score. Exam takers in ancient times were allowed to review the graded cards and ask questions to the grading mandarin. When the student received the lesson, he explained to Tu Jiai. After listening, Tu Jiai immediately stood up and said, since I was young, I have been lucky enough to pass the doctoral exam. In fact, I haven't studied much enough. Thank you very much, teacher. So Tu Jiai gave this student a very high score. Lai Tong Ngac of the Song dynasty worked as a gentleman, studied with great talent, and became an official of Hujian Gi Dai Fu. His father was the prime minister. When his father was in high office, he always avoided suspicion, distanced himself from power, rode a simple carriage, no different from other poor readers. One day, Lai Tong Ngac was walking on the street when he met his father. But the man who drove the carriage for his father did not recognize him and shouted insultingly at him. From then on, every time Lai Tong Ngac met this person, he avoided and hid it, for fear that this person would be embarrassed to know his identity. Lai Tong Ngac is the son of the prime minister. Not only can he face unjust insults without anger, but he can also be generous in forgiveness, have good intentions to think about others, and is truly a successful gentleman. Highly cultivated. The famous god Vuong Suong during the Three Kingdoms period once advised me, others attack us, we should take a step back and reconsider ourselves. If we have something wrong, then what others say is too satisfactory. If we don't make mistakes like what people say, then that person is saying nonsense. The other person's criticism is correct. There is no harm to the other person. The other person talks nonsense. There is no harm to ourselves immediately. So why do we need revenge? So the essence of patience is self-reflection. When others are disobedient to us, just a moment of silence and silence can be favorable and achieve immense hearts. Therefore, Du Muc wrote in his poem, Forbearance is so joyful. After being able to be patient, things will become fun. This is the method to overcome adversity. Van Du Troy Luke states, it's okay to encounter a stubborn person. First think about why you got into that situation. Then ask yourself how to handle it. Calm your mind and calm down. No need to be angry. You can eliminate disasters. People are afraid that others will curse them often because they still have the desire to exalt themselves and degrade others, or also have the desire to be satisfied by those who admire them. Therefore, when you encounter something that damages your reputation, avoid it. Actually, without others criticizing, how can we see our shortcomings? How can we correct ourselves if we don't see our shortcomings? How can a person who acts like, with deaf ears and blind eyes, be successful? How can he gain respect from the hearts of others? There is an ancient saying, complacently invites harm, humbly benefits, if when we are humiliated, we can let go of our arrogance, considering our behavior from the words of others. Perhaps there will be new progress and appreciation. When we treat others with respect, use humility to consider ourselves, we often receive a different mental realm. Like people often say, ring a little calm wind, retreat a step from the wide sea, and sky. That treasure preserves, absorbs, and gives birth to wisdom for life through the long experiences and withdrawals of humans during existence. One of the valuable behavioral experiences from the people is a fasting of goodness. The world often compares to perfection, 10 whole, 10, 10 whole. So if we look from experience, one fasting 9 wholes, we will see the reference to the previous quantity, one fasting few, 9 good things many, thus keeping the 10 parts whole. There are many conclusions from the people, which are no longer completely true and universal, however, about this goodness and fasting. It still seems to be a profound and useful lesson in all the problems of life today. What is fasting? It is a state of human behavior from within, aimed at holding back, ballooning, not letting the powder come out, not satisfying or impatient to solve a specific situation in front of you. Accordingly, yielding, being patient, belongs to the connotation of this concept. Some other cases with metaphorical meanings can also be classified as fasting, such as fasting, 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 which means not being greedy, self-satisfied, or saying words too much, causing stress, difficulties, and disadvantages for life. If the husband is angry, the wife will have less words. The rice boils for a lifetime and doesn't boil. My mother is very fierce, fasting, fasting, holding back on her mother and father's words, or hold on, so the door should be the house, or so the bet should be tied, so the beam should be low-key, hold on, so the wife should be the husband, or then I take care of it in the house door. Why should you hold back? This story is probably too familiar to each of us about the usefulness and effectiveness of patience. Faced with a stressful situation, causing a certain state of anger, being patient, maintaining a calm attitude, and holding back the storm will not push the incident to a disastrous end. The rice boils and burns for the rest of your life without hesitation. 9 good things are the good consequences that patience brings. Our lives have so much proof of this experience. For example, behavior on social networks. Faced with a status, an image, information, event, or attitude that we are not satisfied with, even contrary to our personal opinion, being patient to learn the top of the field, controlling emotions, keeping calm during interaction, can both solve the problem and maintain peace for both parties. Conflicts, professional accidents, gaffes, disunity, or clashing with each other, even hatred in cyberspace, can all originate from not being able to help but impatiently criticize, provoke, criticize, disparage, even curse each other. On that occasion, rafts pull wings, enlist support, and form factions to attack each other. Also generates negative energy in the community. On a broader, deeper level, patience is a superior human quality in every situation and every relationship. From relationships within the family, parents, children, brothers, spouses, to outside society, king, me, friends, colleagues, superiors, and subordinates, even unfamiliar collision situations, patience is still wise behavior. Remember, in the 13th century, during the Tran dynasty's mutiny and invasion by the Mongol Yuan army, Tran Quoc Tuan was patient and put aside family conflicts. Tran Quoc Tuan's father was in Sich Vuong Tran Lu. Before he died, he wanted his son to regain the throne from Tran Than Tong Tran Nan Tong, who was his younger brother and nephew. Tran Than Tong is Tran Can's son. Tran Can is Tran Lu's younger brother, so that my king can reconcile and take care of national affairs. Tran Quoc Tuan himself removed the ironclad point from his stick to create trust in the court and generals. How effective the patience of Hung Dao Dai Vuong Kong moderating Tran Quoc Tuan, who holds all the military power in his hands, has been, everyone probably knows. But if Quoc Tuan cannot bear it, he will definitely obey his father's words and usurp the kingship, leading to chaos in the skin, fratricide, chaos in the court, an invasion lurking at the border. Where will Viet mountain and river go? In diplomatic experiences, be patient to maintain the big situation. Avoid pushing the people into chaos, and have time to consolidate and build the country. Has been used by our ancestors for many generations. What a great lesson in patience. In the family, if husband and wife endure each other, the children will have a father and a mother, and the door will be warm. There are many scenes where the house is broken up, and the brothers and their children are separated, just because they cannot keep the word patience and patience. Married life is not always smooth sailing or smooth sailing. Collisional conflicts are inevitable. There are times when the bowl is bumped together. There are times when it collides, chops, let alone each person. Withdrawing firewood from the bottom of the pot, boiling rice turns on fire. The husband is angry with his wife and has less words, but I think it's good for the whole husband to have less words, avoiding the fire and adding more oil. It seems that it can drain the East Sea. Inside and outside it can be calm. Then, above and below giving in, father and son giving in to each other, the whole family will be blessed. In the office, if friends and colleagues give in to each other, they will avoid losing heart and maintain peace. Going out into society, common frictions such as traffic collisions, seats, speech, right and left disputes more real. If you could be patient, it would make the situation a lot simpler. In fact, in times of anger due to conflict, not being able to stay calm, losing the word patience, can immediately relieve anger. However, its consequences may not be imaginable or predictable. Patience means gathering your claws to comfort, and treat each other with right and wrong, keeping that love in them. Once both sides have ruffled their feathers and spread their claws together, what will happen? Well, please understand that everyone has claws in them, in this sense, one way or another. Suddenly remembering the poem Ring by writer Nguyen The Hung. I accidentally stepped on a worm or worm buckled with plastic, or I accidentally stepped on a bee, or flattened the tip of the venom that was still stinging, or I accidentally stepped on a snake, or turned the snake's head and bit my leg, or people stepped on me, or silence. Because after all, animals only follow their child instincts, and humans must behave in the human way. In life, few people hold hands from morning to night. There are situations where patience is impossible, or where patience has exceeded the ability and limit. That is when hostile, hegemonic, and aggressive foreign forces that all diplomatic efforts have not brought the expected effect. It is necessary to respond with strong actions to maintain independence and autonomy, to preserve the mountains and rivers of the world. A fasting of goodness. Then goodness is great if we know how to be a little patient of fasting. I still think that the root of forbearance is patience. The leaves and branches of the fruit of forbearance are harmony. Harmony is precious, taking harmony as precious. Harmony is sincere, harmony brings good. Harmony gives birth to wealth. Brothers are harmonious. The word forbearance includes a set of knives above the mind. Keeping the blade from piercing the heart is the word forbearance, is keeping the mind, the heart from being hurt, is also keeping the love intact, not a good choice. However, as mentioned,